It is pretty easy to let your emotions get the better of you. Perhaps you could say it's too easy. Most of the time, you're best to just take a step back, collect yourself, and assess the situation logically. One thing you should never do is act on emotion. Once something is done, sometimes it can't be undone. Imagine you're pissed off, you smash a hole in the wall, or you smash that fine china off the ground. It's going to be pretty hard to replace it. What do you really gain from fighting someone who's given you a slagging off? What if they fall and split their head and die after you hit them? Then what? Would it have just been maybe better to have just controlled your emotion? Here is an example of when actions have consequences. Peter Norgrove is a 43-year-old man. As of making this video in February 2024, he is anyway. I couldn't find his exact date of birth, so we'll just say February 1981. He lived in Brimswall Road, Sedgley in the West Midlands. Peter, he is a Jehovah's Witness and he attended a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall in Dudley. This was where he would meet Sharon Gordon, who, like him, was a Jehovah's Witness. Peter, he had worked in the public sector previously, working in HMP Birmingham in the notorious difficult Category B area. He worked here for 16 years from 2002 to 2018, in which he received multiple warnings for being late. You guess you could say that he was maybe a bit of a slouch. He didn't take his job too seriously. Those who worked alongside him at the time said he had a bit of a temper and control issues while he was at work. After canning the job at the lockup, he got a job in environmental health. I mean, can you blame him? Around the time he was working there, this was the state of affairs.
Birmingham, but live footage as it's unfolding.
It was the worst prison riot in England for 25 years. More than 500 inmates took control of 4 wings at Birmingham Prison in December 2016. This footage was filmed by prisoners themselves. It all started when a prisoner jumped onto the safety netting. A guard came to negotiate but was threatened with a syringe filled with blood. Then another inmate snatched his keys to the cells.
I can remember seeing hordes of prisoners running around. You could see staff, you could see the fear in the face from everybody, because the potential now for you to lose the jail was as real as it was going to get.
Everything that can catch fire at that point, people setting it on fire. Some inmate pulled 2 mattresses to my door and lit it. I actually thought that I was going to lose my life then.
In the wake of the riot, the government conducted an investigation, which it then refused to release on security grounds. But now ITV Exposure has obtained parts of the report, and the conclusions are damning. They say that although there was sufficient staff on the day, the riot could and should have been prevented. Staff had been worn down by chronic staffing shortages over the previous year, and prisoners were in effect policing themselves for much of the time.
It's very simple really. If you take 40% out of the budget, if you cut staff by 30%, if you increase your prisoner numbers, you're creating a recipe for disaster. It just so happens the disaster on this occasion landed on Birmingham's doorstep.
The company that runs Birmingham Prison, G4S, praised their staff in the face of aggression and said the prison had undergone changes since. A government spokesperson accepted there were challenges and said they had recruited more prison officers since. But the official report says the factors that triggered a riot in Birmingham are not unique. Other prisons around the country are under considerable pressure too. Allegra Stratton, ITV News.
And I quote, "The prison was in chaos, with the report finding that inmates used drink, drugs and violence systematically and staff experienced widespread bullying. So I can't really blame Peter here for giving up and going into environmental health." So after Peter, well, he spent some time as an environmental worker. He would say, fuck it, enough is enough, this isn't for me. I'm going to try my luck at bricklaying. Peter, he started out doing all the right things for his new career choice. He would become a qualified bricklayer, but as you'll soon see, a sheet of paper / graded course doesn't mean shit compared to experience. So Peter, he gets speaking to Sharon at their Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall, and they get speaking about the topic of a house extension. And as we know, Peter, well, he's a new qualified bricklayer, so he's thinking, I'm the man for the job. Peter plugs his new bricklaying experience and Sharon is looking for an extension at her house in Bromford Road, Hawley Hall, Dudley. Ding ding. He offers to do the scope of work initially for a fee of £32,000, which he agrees to drop to just £29,000 in return for him being able to use the project as marketing material for his new bricklaying business. So the work begins, and this work was initially quoted to have taken 6 to 8 weeks. However, it would turn into 15 months of hell. Peter, you see, he was a bit of a cowboy. The work wasn't getting done, or it wasn't getting done the way it was supposed to be done. It got so bad, Sharon decided to get a Ring camera to catch Peter lying about the time taken for the scope of work he was completing at the house. So needless to say, Sharon was tired of Peter's shit. 6 weeks has now turned to 15 months. What on earth is going on here? Anyone would be infuriated at being lied to for so long. She would call him out for it one time, and Peter, he's seen red. It was between 2 PM and 2:20 PM on the 20th of July 2023. Peter, he had his tools handy for working on the job, one of them being a hammer. Sharon, she would call him out for his bullshit and not getting the job done. This would make Peter see red, and he decided to hit Sharon in the head with his hammer, 8 times in total, leaving her for dead with a fractured skull. After assaulting her, he would drive home, dump bloody clothes at family members' houses as well as a murder weapon, then collect his daughter from school, albeit running a little bit late. After this, he would then lead a service at the Kingdom Hall, where earlier in the day he had just previously murdered one of its valued members. After a day passed, 2 of Sharon's friends decided to pop in and catch up with their friend, only to discover her brutally murdered. Police would observe CCTV footage and seen Peter was there at the house. He said to police that when he left that she was alive and well. The reality was very much the opposite. Between the CCTV footage, the bloody clothes that were reported by his own wife, and the police eventually discovering the murder weapon, Peter was pretty much done for and arrested for committing the murder of Sharon. Peter had flipped out over Sharon, who fairly criticised him over cowboy builder standards in approach, or perhaps the lack of standards in any approach. The 8 hammer blows to the head resulted in the death of Sharon Gordon. The CCTV footage and other evidence led to Peter being sentenced to a minimum of 15 years in prison. Peter is undoubtedly a massive scumbag. He was a cowboy tradesman who couldn't accept reality that he was shit at what he did, and when Sharon confronted him with the reality and called him out for it, he blew his top, ending a woman's life for nothing.